Good morning. This is week 3, and week 3 begins some real work on our final project. The final project scenario, the fact situation, is one that I want you to read over and over and over and over again until you're sure that you've mastered all of the little nuances, all of the little details of the fact pattern. And I'm going to give you a big hint right now. Please listen. This crime, the bank robbery, takes place at a bank in Washington, D.C. D.C., as you know, stands for the District of Columbia. The District of Columbia is not a state. It's a federal district. All laws in the District of Columbia are federal laws because it's a federal district. There are no state laws or state courts that apply or have jurisdiction in D.C. That's a huge hint. Please take it. Now, you're going to see in this scenario also that the bank robbers, the notorious gang of 3 bank robbers, leave the scene of the crime and they flee to the Canada border. Now, they don't actually commit any major crimes along the way, but in this week 3 judicial systems analysis, you need to take a look at other systems besides the court system in D.C. that might have jurisdiction over these 3 people at some point in their attempt to escape. Now, I think you're going to see that even though, yes, they do violate some laws somewhere between D.C. and Canada, they don't really commit any other major crimes. And so we're going to really concentrate in the end, not this week, but in the end, on that bank robbery. For now, though, take a broader view as the Module 3 milestone asks you to do, and examine the hierarchical structure of local courts. Now, this can be a general examination of a typical local court system, or you can concentrate on the local court system of your own state. Or if you really want to, you can take a look at the fact pattern scenario and concentrate on, say, the local court system of New York, which is one of the places where these 3 bank robbers go. I would suggest that you concentrate on your own home state for a couple of reasons. For one, it's going to be just as useful to you in the end when you do your final project as it would be to examine anything else. And for another, it's going to be useful to you in your lives because then you'll know how the court system in your own home state works. And that's really the most important thing. So my suggestion is that you concentrate on the local and state court systems of your own home state for this Module 3 project, the milestone one. And of course, then also you have to concentrate on the hierarchical structure of the federal courts. Now, our discussion board for this week asks you to branch out from that basic hierarchical structure, which usually is trial court, mid-level appeals, and then highest level appeals court, with some nuances and additional little specialty courts in between. And then the discussion board asks you to concentrate on some of the actual specialty courts with very limited jurisdiction that you think you might someday encounter in your lives. Now, this doesn't have to be anything really realistic. You can just pick one that interests you. But if you ever have had an encounter with any of these specialty courts, or if you think you might, say, for instance, you want to be a juvenile probation officer and you think that someday you'll have to, not only you think that you will someday have to interact with the juvenile courts in your state, you can examine the juvenile court system. Or if you think you know somebody who has started a small business and it's on a shoestring and maybe it's not doing so well, and they've built bankruptcy into their business plan, maybe you would like to know a little bit more about the bankruptcy courts, which are federal. So anyway, you'll see a list in the discussion board of courts to choose, and you choose one of those and work your way through it. See how it works. See how you might end up interacting with it at some point in your life, or some point in your friends' lives, or whatever you want to posit as your hypothetical scenario. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you examine the structure and function and jurisdiction of those specialty courts. This week we are also talking about two related but different legal terms, jurisdiction and venue. Jurisdiction is the power of a court to hear certain kinds of cases. It falls into two major categories, subject matter jurisdiction and personal jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction means that a court has the authority to hear cases involving certain subjects, torts, contracts, crimes, whatever it may be. Juvenile matters, domestic matters, probate matters, wills and trusts, patents and copyrights, all those things are matters of subject matter jurisdiction. The other kind of jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction, called in Latin in personam jurisdiction, has to do with a court's authority to rule on matters involving certain people. For instance, if you're in a traffic court in Maryland, let's say, and you are a Maryland resident or Maryland citizen of the state of Maryland, then the traffic court in Maryland would have personal jurisdiction over you because you're a Maryland resident. Now, let's say that instead you were passing through Maryland, but you actually live in Nevada, and you got a speeding ticket in Maryland, but you go back to Nevada. Does the Maryland court have subject matter jurisdiction over your speeding ticket? Yes, it does. Does it have personal jurisdiction over you? No, because you are not in Maryland. While you're in Maryland, it does. When you are somewhere else and you're not a Maryland resident, it doesn't. It would have to reach out through what's called a long-arm statute and bring you back to Maryland to be tried. My example is silly because they wouldn't do that for a traffic ticket. They'd just catch you the next time you're in Maryland. But you get the point, I think. The other legal concept we're talking about that's related to jurisdiction is venue. Venue is related to jurisdiction, but it's very, very different. Venue means that you've got a court that you know already has jurisdiction over a matter, a subject matter, a person, both. It has jurisdiction to hear a certain kind of case. But is it the proper place? Is it in the proper physical, geographical location to hear that case? Or would the case be better heard, better served, justice better served, someplace else, in that same category of court, but in a different location? And venue matters have to do with the fairness aspect of a trial. Can the parties get a fair trial in a given location? Can the court in a given location, in an unbiased way, hear the case and make a decision on it? Is a jury able to be impaneled on an impartial basis in that location? These are issues of venue. Now, I've gone way over my self-imposed 7-minute limit on this video announcement, so I'm going to stop talking now. But please watch the video. I'm going to post it in the body of the announcement and also on my YouTube channel. And so please take a look at it, because in this video I have given you major hints that are going to help you with this final project. Because let me just say right now, I think the final project is confusing in some ways, and it's very difficult to parse it. If you're familiar with that grammatical term, you need to break it down into its component parts and really pay attention to the wording of the scenario. Okay, I really am going to be quiet now. Bye.